What's going on there, YouTube? It's Gores here, giving you guys a deck profile for Eldlich Horus. This deck is super consistent and has an insane amount of value with the Horus package. So let's get right into the deck profile. We're going to start off with the Horus package because we have a lot to talk about. So, first thing we have is 3 copies of Glory of Horus. This card allows us to send itself and another card from our hand to the graveyard to add King's Sarcophagus from deck to hand, then draw a card. And then all the Horus monsters have an effect where if you control King's Sarcophagus, you can summon them back from the graveyard. The reason this synergizes so well with Eldlich is because we can send our Eldlichs, Eldlich itself, and Golden Land cards to the graveyard to trigger this effect and King's Sarcophagus. In addition to that, anytime a monster is sent from your field to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you get to trigger an effect. This one lets us send a card on the field to the graveyard. Next up, we're playing 3 Blessing. This one has the ability to summon itself and gains 1200 for each other Horus card we have, which can sometimes get it up to a 4800 attack. And then in addition to that, when a monster is sent from our field to the graveyard, we get to draw cards equal to the number of different monsters that we have. Next up, we are playing 2 Guidance of Horus. This card allows us to recycle our shuffle or our banished cards and shuffle them back into the deck, or even add cards that are banished or in the graveyards back to our hand. So we can add Eldlich back and then send it, and then be able to send a card on the field to the graveyard with Eldlich's effect. And then we have Protection of Horus. This just prevents our opponent from attacking them. And then we're playing 3 copies of King's Sarcophagus. This card, what this does is insane. So you can actually discard a card from your hand and then send a Horus from your deck to your graveyard. It's send, not discard. I should probably say that. And then you can do that 4 times per turn. So we can send our Eldlich and our Eldlichs and our Golden Land cards and then use them on our end phase to be able to set more Golden Lands and Eldlichs. In addition to that, we'll be able to just summon back a bunch of Horuses and make rank 8s. And then this is a proxy card. This is Protector. What that card does is it's a continuous trap that allows us to, when it's sent to the graveyard from the field or the deck, from the hand or deck to the graveyard, we get to reset it, and we can special summon a Horus from our hand. So that's it for the Horus package. Next up for the Eldlich package, we are playing 2 Eldlich the Golden Lord. So Eldlich is just able to send himself and a Speller Trap from your hand to the graveyard and then send a card to the graveyard. And then its other effect lets us send a Speller Trap we control to summon it back. Next up, we have 3 Eldlichs of Scarlet Sanguine. This card lets us summon Eldlich from our deck or graveyard to the field, and then we can banish it to set a Golden Land from our deck. We have 3 Conquistador and 2 Hakihiro. What these cards do is Conquistador, they both summon themselves as monsters, and if you have Eldlich, they both gain an effect. Conquistador gets to destroy a face-up card, and then Hakihiro gets to banish a card from the graveyard. They can also banish themselves during the end phase to set an Eldlichs from your deck to your spell and trap card zone. So they have a ton of synergy with these Horus cards. Next up, the rest of this is all flex spots. These are just the ratios that I have been enjoying in playtesting. So we have 1 Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Since we draw 3 cards on our first turn, we don't really need to play multiples of these. We don't really want to see it. We can, of course, just discard them with King's Sarcophagus, but the main reason that this is in the main deck is because not everyone is running spell and trap card removal in the main, but they might start to now that this deck is here, and as well as the new Sinful deck. But in the end, it's a solid card, and we do get to just play the one of, and it protects itself, which is fine. Well, it protects our back row, and then it also summons itself, and then sets a Speller Trap from deck to the field. Next up, we have 2 Lava Golem. This card is to just deal with Pearly and Unchained, and we don't ever normal summon, so super solid card. You could play 3 if you wanted. We are playing 2 Thrust and a Talents. Thrust, if our opponent interacts with us in any way, it just allows us to either get to the Eldlich engine or just get to something that can interact with our opponent's board. For some Thrust targets, we are playing 1 D-Barrier and 1 Dogmatica Punishment. And then an old card that is just doing phenomenal in playtesting, 3 Torrential Tribute. So King's Sarcophagus also has 2 more effects, one of them being they can't be destroyed by card effects that don't target. So we can just Torrential Tribute and completely protect our Horus engine as long as we have King's Sarcophagus, and Eldlich will also protect itself from Torrential Tribute and just interact in the worst kinds of ways for our opponent. It's a very obnoxious card, and if it's played at the right time, can deal with pretty much any matchup. So, super solid card, and it's thrustable, so loving it in playtesting. All right, next up, we are on 6 Floodgates. So, the best Floodgate in this deck is there can only be one. This card is bananas, y'all, in this deck. Every single Horus monster is a different monster type, and Eldlich is also a zombie. All your extra deck is also a different monster type, so pretty insane. And then the other one we're playing is 3 Skill Drain, just because we don't care about Skill Drain. The only card in our deck that cares is Blessing, but other than that, all of our monsters are big beat sticks, and it goes so hard. If we need to get a monster effect to activate, we can just use Eldlich to send it to the graveyard, so super powerful card. So that's it for the main deck, y'all. Let's get into this extra deck. So there's not really a lot of important cards in the extra deck, but I'll talk about the main one. Coach King Giant Trainer. We get to detach, draw, and burn our opponent for 800, and we can do that 3 times per turn if we skip our battle phase. So we can deal 2,400 on the first turn to our opponent, draw 3 cards, and then just summon a bunch of beat sticks on the follow-up and just totally wipe our opponent out. Next up, we are playing 1 Harbinger. If our opponent, like Ghost Ogres, or King Sarcophagus, this allows us to at least end on a negate. We're playing 1 the Zombie Vampire. If we just kind of need to push a little harder, or I am siding Eradicator in this deck, so it is a dark monster that we can use. But if we need to push a little harder and then just be able to special summon whatever we mill, it can help sometimes. So next up, this is kind of like a flex package that I like to play personally. 1 Pleiades, 1 M7, 1 Thundercharger, and that's because we can make Pleiades, bounce a card, and then make M7, then make Thundercharger, and then overlay Zeus on top, and have a 4-material Zeus, which is super fun. And then 1 Dreadnought, just because it helps us burn for game, and like this deck, I don't see it losing in time thanks to Coach King and Dreadnought. So next up, we have our Link monsters. This is all like personal preference in my opinion. The deck is super versatile, so let's just get into that. So we have 1 Masquerena, 1 Unicorn, 1 Appaloosa. I would probably make this the new card SP Little Knight if I had one. And then 1 Access Code Talker. We do play Skill Drain, but we can play around it with Eldlich, so we can make this card and then just be able to pop 1 or 2 cards and then just have that 5,300 to help push for the OTK even harder. And then the rest of it is just our 3 targets for Dogmatica Punishment. Or if our opponent's unbranded, we have cards to send for that as well. So that's it for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, make sure you like and subscribe, comment for more. If you guys want to see some gameplay of this deck, just make sure you guys comment it down below. Thank you guys so much. You guys have been amazing. We're almost at 200,000 views on the channel. I can't believe we're doing this good. You guys are so cool. I love all of you guys. Thank you guys so much, especially you guys that have been here since day one. This is Gores, signing off.